For over a decade, developers building decentralized networks have collided with federal regulators enforcing rules written in the 1930s. The result has been an environment defined by continuous legal action against protocol founders. The core friction stemmed from a specific regulatory approach, conflating the underlying string of cryptographic code with the method used to sell it to early investors. This practice often treated the software and the investment contract as the same legal entity. Release 33-11412, issued jointly by the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, provides a new baseline for the industry. The document creates a formal legal bifurcation. It explicitly separates the digital asset itself from the legal classification of an investment contract. Under the Howey test, the 1946 Supreme Court standard, an investment contract exists when money is invested in a common enterprise with a reasonable expectation of profits derived from the efforts of others. Understanding this framework requires mapping three core pillars, starting with the SEC's new 5-part asset taxonomy. We will then trace the mechanics of how a token attaches to, and eventually separates from, an investment contract. Finally, we analyze the specific exemptions granted for network operations like mining and staking. By codifying these mechanics, regulators have established a structured logic for how digital assets interact with federal law. This architectural matrix illustrates the SEC's baseline framework, categorizing all crypto assets into 5 distinct classes based on their intrinsic traits and functions. The first class is digital commodities. These are assets like Bitcoin or Ethereum that are intrinsically linked to functional networks. Their value is driven by supply and demand, rather than the managerial efforts of a central party. The second class, digital collectibles, covers assets that provide artistic, social, or cultural value. This includes NFTs and meme coins, whose prices are dictated by market demand for the item itself. The third class encompasses digital tools. These are functional assets used for practical utility, such as Ethereum name service domains, identity badges, or credentials that allow access to a specific digital environment. The release establishes a critical legal baseline. These first 3 categories, commodities, collectibles, and tools, do not have the economic characteristics of a security. By themselves, they are non-securities. The fourth category is stablecoins. The document notes that payment stablecoins are statutorily exempt from being regulated as securities if they qualify under the 2025 Genius Act. The Genius Act is federal legislation that defines the oversight and reserve requirements for dollar-pegged digital assets. The fifth and final pillar represents digital securities. These are traditional financial instruments, like stocks or bonds, that are simply tokenized and recorded on a blockchain. These remain fully regulated securities. Defining the base layer asset as a non-security is the required first step. Regulators then use this baseline to analyze the exact context of how an asset is sold to the public. This creates a unique legal situation. A developer can write code for a digital commodity, but it can be restricted as an unregistered security. This occurs through attachment. Under the Howey test, a non-security asset becomes subject to an investment contract, based entirely on the specific promises made during its sale. Attachment occurs when a token issuer induces investment by making explicit promises to undertake essential managerial efforts. These are defined as significant managerial tasks that directly affect the failure or success of the enterprise, such as hitting software development milestones. The SEC specifies that explicit roadmaps detailing personnel, funding, and projected timelines are what create the reasonable expectation of profit required by Howey. Vague community goals generally do not meet this legal threshold. This security wrapper is a temporary legal overlay. It dictates how the asset can be marketed and sold, but it does not change the underlying cryptographic code of the token. Therefore, a token's classification as a security is a condition based on the active, unfulfilled promises made by its promoter. Section IV of the release outlines the separation principle. This lifecycle mapping shows how an asset can shed its investment contract wrapper once investor expectations change, bifurcating into 2 distinct paths. The first path is fulfillment. If an issuer successfully completes the promised roadmap, delivering the intended functionality, launching the network, or open sourcing the code, their obligations are met. Because the essential managerial efforts are complete, the investment contract ceases to exist. The token legally separates from the security wrapper. The second path is abandonment. If a project fails due to technical flaws or lack of funding, and the issuer publicly announces a halt to halt development, the profit expectation changes. Once development is publicly abandoned, investors can no longer reasonably expect profits from the issuer's efforts. The contract is shed, leaving only the base asset. While the issuer may face liability for past failures, the token itself is no longer subject to the investment contract. This separation dictates how secondary markets operate. Once a token separates from the issuer's promises, subsequent trading of that asset by third parties does not require securities registration. This framework provides protocol founders with a codified path to regulatory compliance that is achievable through actual network decentralization. Beyond the initial sale of assets, networks require ongoing operations to maintain security. The release explicitly addresses proof-of-work mining. Protocol mining involves contributing computational power to solve cryptographic puzzles, validate blocks of data, and secure the network. The SEC concludes that providing these resources is an administrative or ministerial act. It does not qualify as an essential managerial effort. Joining a mining pool does not change this standing. A pool operator coordinates resources and distributes rewards, which regulators view as a ministerial convenience rather than a managerial strategy. Because block rewards are dictated by programmatic, self-executing code rather than human business strategy, network consensus mechanisms are insulated from federal securities laws. The release applies a similar standard to proof-of-stake networks. Here, protocol staking requires users to lock up their digital commodities to validate blocks and earn rewards. Solo staking is categorized like solo mining. It is an administrative act that relies on the rules of the software protocol. This flowchart tracks the flow of assets in custodial and liquid staking, where a third-party service provider takes custody of assets and runs validation nodes on behalf of the depositor. The SEC classifies these service providers as agents rather than managers. Their actions, specifically taking custody and selecting a node operator, are non-discretionary administrative tasks executed programmatically. In liquid staking, depositors receive staking receipt tokens. These provide users with liquidity, allowing participation in other applications, while original assets remain locked in consensus. If the underlying asset is a non-security, the SEC treats the receipt tokens strictly as a one-to-one claim ticket evidencing ownership. It is not a derivative financial security. The process of wrapping tokens into cross-chain bridges relies on the same logic. Generating a redeemable wrapped token is a one-to-one exchange that offers no independent profit opportunity. Service providers often offer ancillary services like early unbonding or slashing coverage. Slashing is a network penalty where staked tokens are forfeited for dishonest validation. Providing insurance against this penalty is considered a ministerial convenience. By distinguishing code-driven automation from human enterprise, these exemptions protect the operational foundation of institutional yield generation. This master schematic synthesizes the complete regulatory model: the 5-part taxonomy, the temporary Howey attachment, the separation event, and the ministerial network operations. The legal status of a crypto asset is no longer assessed as a static trait. It is evaluated as a dynamic, observable life cycle that responds to the technical and managerial state of the project. For protocol architects, the path to compliance is directly tied to engineering. Establishing a functional, decentralized network effectively fulfills the investment contract. For institutional investors and secondary exchanges, these safe harbors dictate how assets can be staked, validated, and traded without triggering federal registration requirements. The SEC, the CFTC, and Capitol Hill have aligned their frameworks to reflect the technical realities of on-chain economics. Shifting from a period of ad hoc litigation to this codified architecture provides a predictable path for the next frontier of digital finance.